Chosen ones, what if I told you so? The very people who laughed at you, lied on you, and tried to bury you are now watching in shock because God is proving you were favored all along. Chosen ones, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like your entire community, your family, your co-workers, even people you barely know, were all pointing their arrows at you at the same time? Like you became the punching bag of everyone's frustration, jealousy, or gossip? If you nodded yes, then this message is for you. A woman I knew, let's call her Maya, was constantly mocked by her neighbors. They would whisper about her whenever she walked by, throwing side eyes, laughing behind her back. Why? Because Maya chose to live differently. She didn't follow their toxic ways. She carried herself with dignity, with spiritual discipline, and that made her a target. But one day, everything flipped. The same neighbors who mocked her began to see doors open in her life that no one could explain. Opportunities found her. Blessings rained on her. And suddenly the whispers turned into silence, followed by respect. That's exactly what's happening with you, chosen ones. The community that kept attacking you is being humbled. God is making it known you are not ordinary. You are highly favored by the Most High. There's a quote I love that fits perfectly here. When God is for you, it doesn't matter who is against you. Chosen ones, I need you to stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to break down exactly why you've been under so much attack, and more importantly, how these same people are now being shown that you are highly favored. This isn't just about your story, it's about your spiritual journey, your awakening, and your victory that can inspire millions. So lean in, spirit warriors. Let's get into it. Point 1. They attacked you because they saw your light before you did. Chosen ones, let me break this down for you in a way that not only hits your spirit, but also opens your eyes to what's really happening around you. Sometimes the people around you recognize your light long before you even realize how brightly you shine. And here's the twist. Your enemies, your doubters, the very ones who tried to tear you down, were actually some of the first to spot your divine calling. They could sense there was something about you, something rare, something set apart, that didn't fit the mold of ordinary living. Science even shows us that human beings are wired to pick up on subtle cues like confidence, resilience, and presence. Your aura, that quiet energy that walks into the room before you do, gives you away every time. They noticed it, and instead of celebrating it, they felt threatened by it. History is full of examples of this. Look at Joseph in the Bible, the boy with the coat of many colors. His own brothers couldn't stand the dreams he carried, not because they didn't believe him, but because deep down they did. They recognized his destiny before he even fully walked in it, and out of jealousy they sold him into slavery. But here's the powerful truth. Every betrayal, every pit, every prison cell was not a setback. It was preparation. The same pattern repeats in the lives of chosen ones across time. Enemies see the glow, but because they can't control it, they try to dim it. What they fail to understand is that pressure only transforms coal into diamonds. Think about it. If gold must go through fire to be purified, why would your spirit be any different? Every attack on your life, every rumor spread, every door closed in your face was God's way of shaping you into someone unshakable. It might have felt unfair, but it was never wasted. Psychologists call this concept post-traumatic growth. The idea that people can come out of challenges not only resilient, but stronger, wiser, and more spiritually grounded than before. That's you. Your enemies thought they were breaking you, but in reality, They were polishing you like a master craftsman refines a rare jewel. And let's be honest, sometimes you didn't even know why certain people disliked you. You hadn't wronged them, hadn't spoken against them, hadn't done anything but exist. That's because the attack was never about who you were in that moment. It was about who you were becoming. Spiritually speaking, people can sense destiny before it manifests. There's something called prophetic recognition, where those around you can feel your future calling even if you can't articulate it yet. That's why the resistance has been so strong. They weren't fighting you, they were fighting the anointing you carry, but here's the part that turns the whole story around. Every stone thrown at you became part of the foundation God was building. Every rejection redirected you closer to your true path. What they used to harm you became the very tool God used to lift you. And this isn't just a nice idea, it's a pattern seen in real life. Many world changers, from inventors to leaders to artists, faced the harshest criticism and attacks at the very moments before their breakthroughs. Enemies recognized their potential earlier than they did themselves. And in trying to stop them, they unknowingly fueled the fire that made their greatness undeniable. So, chosen one, understand this. The jealousy, the sabotage, the gossip, it's all confirmation. They wouldn't be fighting you so hard if there wasn't something powerful on your life. The irony is that the more they tried to destroy you, the more you became indestructible. What they didn't know is that every attack drew you closer to God. Every loss taught you faith. Every wound birthed wisdom. You are walking proof that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Not because you were never hit, but because you refused to stay down. Your enemies recognized the glow, they tried to dim it, but instead they helped refine it. And now you stand not just as someone who survived, but as someone who carries the unmistakable mark of being chosen. Point 2. God allowed the attacks to build your strength. You ever notice how diamonds are formed under pressure? That's not just a poetic comparison. It's literal science and spiritual truth working hand in hand. A diamond is created when carbon, buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, is subjected to extreme heat and pressure over long periods of time. Without that crushing environment, without that unbearable weight, carbon would just remain carbon. But with the right conditions, it transforms into the hardest, most brilliant gemstone on earth. And that, chosen one, is exactly how the Most High has been shaping you. Every season of struggle you endured wasn't random. Every false rumor spread about you, every betrayal you suffered, every door slammed in your face, it wasn't designed to destroy you. It was divine resistance training, spiritual gym equipment. While others thought they were tearing you down, in truth, they were spotting you while you lifted heavier and heavier weights that strengthened your spirit. Think about it. When a weightlifter goes to the gym, the goal isn't comfort, it's resistance. Muscles don't grow without strain. And in the same way, your spiritual muscle didn't grow without the weight of rejection pressing against your chest, without the heat of loneliness burning in your soul, without the grinding pressure of battles you faced in silence. The Most High saw the raw material inside you, and he knew comfort would never bring it out. He allowed the fire because he knew only fire refines gold. He allowed the crushing because he knew only crushing produces the oil of anointing. That pain you thought was punishment was actually preparation. It was molding you, shaping you, chiseling away everything that didn't belong, so the true brilliance inside of you could emerge. Now, let's look at the irony. The same community that once mocked you, the same people who once tried to bury you, now look at you with wide eyes. They see your strength and they're panicking. Why? Because they realize all their efforts failed. They lied on you, yet your truth shines brighter. They rejected you, yet you're still standing taller. They threw stones at you, hoping you'd crumble. But instead, those stones became the very foundation you stand on. What was meant to crush you only carved your character. What was meant to humiliate you ended up elevating you. You've become living proof of Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. The weapons were real, yes, but they backfired. Every arrow fired at you was caught and turned into a stepping stone. And here's where it gets even deeper. Pressure doesn't just create diamonds, it reveals authenticity. There's a reason jewelers test stones under light and magnification. Fake diamonds can't handle scrutiny. They crack, they fade, they expose their flaws. But a real diamond, it reflects light in a way that can't be hidden. Chosen one? That's what your enemies are realizing now. They thought you were fragile glass, easy to shatter. But under pressure, you didn't break, you reflected. You reflected resilience, grace, and the undeniable evidence that God's hand is upon you. And this is why they're uneasy, because your survival is their failure. Your shine is their shame. Your rise is the proof that the Most High has the final word. So don't despise the process. Every tear, every sleepless night, every battle you thought would end you, it was part of the divine design. Diamonds don't ask to be created, they are chosen by the earth's pressure. And you didn't ask for this journey, but you were chosen by the Most High. Now you stand as a testimony, a rare jewel formed through trials that others would not have survived. And the beautiful part? You're still not done shining. A diamond's brilliance increases the more it's cut and polished, meaning every new challenge, every new trial, every new level of pressure, it's not breaking you, it's refining you. The community may panic, the world may watch, but your story is living evidence that the unbreakable light of the chosen cannot be dimmed. You are not a victim of pressure, you are the product of it. And just like a diamond, your value cannot be denied. Point 3, their weapons expose their own hearts. Chosen ones, listen close, because what's happening to you right now reads like a quiet orchestration of truth. For years you may have moved through rooms and conversations unseen, treated as optional, criticized for traits they didn't understand, or punished for kindness that made them uncomfortable. That treatment, once dismissed as random cruelty or bad luck, is now becoming a lens that exposes the character of those who inflicted it. This isn't just poetic consolation. There's a pattern here psychology calls moral revealing. Under stress or scrutiny, people's true values emerge. Those who attacked an innocent or tried to dim your light often reveal themselves by doubling down on deception, gaslighting, or panicked public performances. Their actions become the evidence. Meanwhile, your consistency, restraint, and integrity stand out like a steady lamp in a room full of flickering candles. The universe and many faith traditions teach this, including concepts of divine justice, karmic balance, and providence, has long recognized that authenticity ultimately surfaces. History and scripture are full of narratives where the patient, faithful, or righteous are vindicated in ways big and small. But what does that look like in everyday life? It might be a colleague who spread rumors finally being held accountable, when documentation, witnesses, or a record of their behavior comes to light. It could be a family member whose manipulative tactics crumble when relatives compare notes and notice inconsistencies. Sometimes exposure happens through the correspondences they thought were private, sometimes through public error, sometimes through their own inability to keep up the performance. Importantly, the moment of revelation isn't always dramatic. Often it's quiet, the gradual realignment of people around you who notice, the invitations that finally arrive, the doors that open because someone recognized your integrity. These are practical signs that what you carried in silence was true and that reality is catching up. There's also a science to why this feels so satisfying. Humans are pattern-seeking and truth-preferring. When inconsistencies are revealed, cognitive dissonance resolves and communities recalibrate. People who supported the abusers may retract their allegiance when presented with clear, steady evidence. That shift isn't vindictiveness, it's social systems correcting for error. And faith traditions add another layer. Many teach that divine justice operates on timelines humans can't always see, working with patience and precision rather than spectacle. Whether you call it providence, karma, or moral consequence, the through line is the same. Injustice rarely remains hidden forever. Still, revelation can be messy. Exposure sometimes provokes retaliation, bewilderment, or painful reckonings. That's why your role as a chosen one is not just to wait for justice, it's to keep your center. Maintain your boundaries, document truth where necessary, and let discernment guide your response. When you act from wisdom rather than vengeance, you maintain moral authority. When you preserve dignity, the world can read your integrity more clearly. This moment of exposure is also an educational one for those around you. It teaches communities to spot subtle cruelty, to hold leaders accountable, and to value the quiet virtues that have always mattered: honesty, compassion, restraint. When the true colors of others are revealed, it gives people permission to realign their loyalties toward those who have been steady and just. So let this be your reminder. The way they treated you says more about them than it ever did about your worth. Hold your head high, continue your practice of kindness and discernment, and allow the slow, inevitable clearing of truth to do its work. Divine justice, whatever name you give it, often operates in ways that lift the innocent and reveal the unmasked. You were not alone in your trials. You were being readied, seen by a wisdom greater than gossip. And now the world is beginning to read the same page. Point 4, your blessings are public evidence. Here's the thing, chosen one. This is the part that makes them furious beyond belief. They can't deny the blessings that are written all over your life. No matter how much they try to downplay it, no matter how much they whisper in circles to twist the story, the evidence of divine favor is too loud to be ignored. It's in the promotion you didn't even campaign for, the one that landed in your lap while others were scheming and hustling in the shadows. It's in the kind of peace you carry that doesn't make sense in a world addicted to chaos. And it's in the glow-up. Yes, that transformation in your spirit, your appearance, your presence, that they never saw coming. This glow isn't about expensive clothes, jewelry, or a curated lifestyle. It's the radiance of someone who has walked through fire and came out refined like gold. When you are truly chosen, God makes sure your victories cannot be hidden. They happen in plain sight. Think of it as a divine stage where heaven's spotlight shines directly on you, not for your own ego, but for his glory. The Bible puts it best in Psalm 23:5. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You catch that? It doesn't say he prepares the table in private or behind closed doors. No, he sets the table right where your doubters can see it, and here's the kicker. He doesn't dismiss your enemies from the room. He invites them to pull up a chair. They have to sit there uncomfortable, lips tight, watching you feast on blessings they swore you'd never taste. That's not revenge, it's divine justice. This is why gossip loses its power over you. You don't even have to defend yourself anymore. They can say you're not qualified, but God keeps opening doors you didn't knock on. They can say you're not worthy, but God keeps elevating you anyway. They can say you'll never make it, but your very existence becomes the rebuttal. The blessings silence the lies. It's one thing to argue words, but it's another thing to argue with results that everyone can see. It's like trying to deny the sunrise while standing outside at dawn. Futile, frustrating, and foolish. Now let's get real. Why does this sting so much for those who secretly root against you? Because people often expect your pain to be permanent. They were counting on you being stuck in the same struggle, drowning in the same heartbreak, or weighed down by the same mistakes. But God had other plans. He turned your scars into stories, your breakdowns into breakthroughs, your setbacks into setups. Every blessing you walk in is proof that what was meant to destroy you was actually molding you. That's why your peace that passes all understanding is so threatening, because it doesn't follow the world's logic. You're not supposed to be this calm, this joyful, this unbothered after everything you've endured. Yet here you are, walking in light while they're still trapped in the shadows of their own bitterness. What makes this even more powerful is that your glow-up isn't about external validation. It's about alignment. When you align with God's will, His favor becomes magnetic. Opportunities chase you. Doors open without keys. And rooms make space for you before you even arrive. History is full of examples of this. Joseph in Egypt didn't beg for recognition. He was sold into slavery, betrayed and forgotten. Yet God raised him up to become second in command. Daniel didn't campaign for status. He was thrown into a den of lions, but God's protection made kings bow in respect. These stories aren't just ancient tales. They are patterns of how God operates with His chosen. He doesn't just save you, He showcases you. So, chosen one, don't be surprised when people look uncomfortable in your presence. Don't shrink back when your success causes whispers in the room. Understand this: you are living proof of divine favor, and your life itself is a sermon they can't ignore. Every blessing you carry is a reminder that no weapon formed against you could prosper, and that every tongue that rose in judgment has been silenced, not by your words, but by your wins. You don't even need to clap back. Your glow is the clap back. Your peace is the proof. Your blessings are the broadcast. And here's the takeaway. Stop worrying about who's watching. Let them watch. Let them sit at the table. Because the more they see, the more undeniable God's hand on your life becomes. This isn't just about you eating. It's about you being a walking testimony. The gossip fades, the lies crumble, but the blessings remain. That's the power of being chosen. That's the power of divine favor that cannot be denied. Point 5. The more they attack, the higher you rise. Chosen ones, listen close. This is the irony. The very attacks meant to destroy you became the fuel for your rise. The more they tried to bury you, the deeper your roots grew. Imagine a stubborn weed pushing through cracked concrete. You do not merely survive the pressure, you reshape the landscape. Psychologists call this phenomenon post-traumatic growth, the real measurable ways people change for the better after hardship. It's not cliché, feel-good talk. Researchers have found that survivors of severe stress often report stronger relationships, clearer life purpose, and an increased appreciation for small joys. That hard soil, it isn't punishment, it's compost for a fiercer version of yourself. Now let's get specific. When you're pushed down repeatedly, your nervous system learns a new vocabulary: threat, adaptation, response. Over time, your stress response system can become more finely tuned if you learn from it. That's the clever part most people miss. Trauma in itself isn't the teacher. Your choices after trauma are. You can ruminate and become a permanent victim, or you can translate pain into strategy. Every setback teaches a tactical lesson: how to spot toxic patterns earlier, how to set boundaries without guilt, how to conserve your energy like a seasoned general. This is resilience in practice, not the absence of pain, but the mastery of it. But there's also a social alchemy at work. When others tried to diminish you, they revealed themselves: who is loyal, who performs kindness, who mourns your fall with genuine sorrow, and who cheers it on. That revelation is priceless information. It lets you prune your circle. Instead of wasting time on those who would chop you down, you invest in the people who water your roots. Communities form around shared scars. Leaders rise because they were tested by fire and chose to keep walking. That is why the comeback often looks effortless to outsiders, because the inner work has already been done in private, in darkness. Here's a truth that's both poetic and practical. What scares them about your comeback isn't vanity, it's utility. People who benefit from the status quo fear change because it threatens the systems that keep them comfortable. Your rise signals that imbalance can be corrected, that marginalized power can become organized power. You become an unpredictable variable in their neat equations, and unpredictability is terrifying to those whose authority depends on predictability. So they try to silence you. But like a well-aimed river, you find new channels. You adapt, you reroute, you flood the plains where opportunities once seemed dry. Finally, keep one ethic close to your chest: transform without losing your soul. Strength created by suffering can harden into bitterness, if not softened with gratitude. Celebrate the small victories: a clear morning, a loyal friend, a lesson learned, and keep curiosity alive. Study history and you'll see this pattern again and again. The people who changed the world were often those who had been written off. They did not simply survive. They repurposed their pain into invention, empathy, and strategy. So when they tried to bury you, smile, because your roots were only getting deeper. The soil that covered you became the very thing that fed your rise. Rise, then, with intention, with wisdom, and with the kind of calm that makes the loudest critics quiet down and the right allies step forward. Point 6. God is making them witnesses of his favor. Chosen ones. Witness this moment. Divine justice isn't a loud courtroom drama, but a subtle unveiling. A slow, undeniable sunrise that lights up every corner where your detractors once schemed. Those who tried to erase your name have become your most vivid witnesses, and that reversal teaches us something both spiritual and scientifically true about human behavior. When people watch someone they belittled rise, they experience a kind of cognitive dissonance, a mental tug-of-war between what they believed and what their eyes now report. And that tension turns into discomfort, then into reluctant acknowledgement. From a psychological angle, humans are wired to make sense of social status. We look for signals of favor, competence, and blessing because those signals help us predict who will thrive in a group. So when your peace, your breakthroughs and your quiet victories begin to broadcast themselves, not through bragging, but through steady, visible fruit. That social feedback loop forces observers to update their story about you. Spiritually, this is the quiet movement of TMH aligning circumstance, opportunity, and favor. Practically, it's the aggregation of small, consistent choices. You showing up on time, choosing integrity over quick gain, speaking truth with calm, and cultivating skills that make success inevitable. Entertainingly, imagine the ex-critic at the window with popcorn, eyes glued. They wanted ratings from your fall, but are now stuck watching your redemption season. That scene is both satisfying and instructive. Let their gaze be a mirror, not a mirror of shame, but of proof. Proof that persistence, humility, and faith are not passive virtues, but catalytic forces that reconfigure reality. Be specific. Favor often arrives as networks opening. Grants, unexpected allies, or doors you couldn't have engineered. These are measurable shifts, not abstract promises. Stay captivated by the process. Delight in the slow geometry of growth, where each small win stacks into an undeniable structure. And remember, being witnessed doesn't obligate you to gloat. Grace is the language that converts torment into testimony. Turn the attention you receive into a sermon of action. Mentor someone. Build where you've been broken, and invest your gains into the work that first made you rise. In the end, the greatest revenge is not proving them wrong in fury, but proving them wrong with a life so well lived that their testimony becomes the loudest witness to your favor. Point 7. Your victory isn't just about you, it's about awakening others. Chosen ones, your story is not just about you. Every step of your journey, every victory you secure, every mountain you climb, it all carries a meaning far greater than your personal success. You may think that your breakthroughs belong only to you, but in reality, they are living testimonies of God's power, written not on paper, but on the fabric of your life. Each time you rise after falling, every time you overcome an obstacle that seemed impossible, you are preaching a silent sermon without ever stepping into a pulpit. People may never hear you speak a word, but they are watching closely. Some watch with skepticism, doubting your ability to survive the trials. Some watch with envy, unsettled by your resilience. Yet there are also those who watch with hope, quietly telling themselves, if God can lift them up after all they've been through, then surely He can do it for me too. This is why your life cannot be viewed in isolation. You are not merely walking for yourself, you are blazing a trail for countless souls who are quietly drawing strength from your endurance. Think of history's most remarkable examples. David began as an unnoticed shepherd, a boy who tended sheep in obscurity. No one expected him to face a giant, let alone win. But his victory over Goliath was not simply about personal courage. It became a timeless reminder that God can elevate the overlooked into positions of influence. His story wasn't just for his own generation. It became a living symbol for millions who have ever felt too small, too underestimated, or too unqualified. Through David, God showed the world that His favor is not restricted by human expectation. Joseph's story shines with the same truth. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned, Joseph's life looked like one long series of setbacks. Yet, what appeared to be defeat was divine preparation. When famine came, Joseph was strategically placed in Egypt to preserve not just his family, but entire nations. His triumph was never about him alone. It was a testimony that no betrayal, no pit, no false accusation can derail the plans God has spoken over your life. Even today, Joseph's life is studied as a blueprint of perseverance, vision, and trust in divine timing. The beauty of his story is that it continues to inspire people across cultures and generations to believe that their own struggles can be transformed into blessings. Chosen ones, this is where your life mirrors theirs. Every time you emerge from hardship, you prove that faith outshines fear. Every time you walk with dignity despite rejection, you reveal that God's favor outweighs human opposition. Your story is not just survival, it is evidence. It is God's reminder to a broken world that endurance is not wasted and that darkness, no matter how loud, cannot silence the light. Sociologists often talk about the power of role models, the way one person's example can ripple out and influence entire communities. In spiritual terms, that's what you are. You're not just someone who overcame. You are someone whose life speaks louder than words. You are showing others what is possible with faith, patience, and divine strength. This is why you must not downplay your victories. Sometimes chosen ones are tempted to dismiss their success as small or ordinary. But what you call small might be the very spark someone else needs to hold on another day. Think of a candle lit in the dark. It might seem fragile, yet its glow can inspire another to light their own. The Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 3:2, "You yourselves are our letter, written on our hearts, known and read by everyone." You are, in a very real sense, a living letter. The story of your life is being read daily, not in ink, but in action, in faith, in perseverance, and in victory. And countless unseen readers are finding their courage through it. Your journey is a reminder that God still delivers, still elevates, and still reigns. It's not just about achieving a personal dream or proving doubters wrong. It's about revealing the character of a God who works wonders through the ordinary, the overlooked, and the underestimated. Every step forward you take is not only a step for you, it is a step for someone else who needs to believe again. Your resilience whispers to the weary. Your triumphs ignite hope in those who are close to giving up. Your very existence becomes someone else's evidence that miracles are still alive and possible. So, chosen one, carry this truth with you. Your rise is not random. Your victory is not private. Your story is not yours alone. It is a divine message woven into your days, meant to echo beyond your lifetime. And the world, watching quietly, sometimes in silence, sometimes in doubt, will see through you that God is faithful, that light always wins, and that hope is never wasted. So, chosen ones, understand this. The same community that mocked you, misrepresented you, and even conspired against you is now being compelled to acknowledge your worth. Not because of your own strength, but because of the power of God working in your life. This is a timeless pattern seen throughout Scripture. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, yet he rose to become a ruler in Egypt. David was overlooked by his own family, but anointed to be king. These examples show that divine favor can elevate you far beyond human expectations. That is why it's crucial to remain grounded, humble, and faithful, even when life feels unfair. Favor isn't distributed by merit or popularity. It is a divine act of grace. When you are chosen, you don't need validation from the world. You already carry heaven's endorsement. Stay awake to your calling, strong in your spirit, and aligned with your purpose, because even your adversaries now recognize you are highly favored.